Viserai in Project Blue is very interesting because most of his core from actual CC competitive lists that are playing at full optimized power levels actually really translate easily to this deck. A lot of the deck's core was actually built around commons and rares, specifically in between the times of Arcane Rising, Crucible, and Everfest. And there have been some additional inclusions, specifically with the Rosetta, that do upgrade the deck a lot. But it's so interesting to me that this list is almost 80% alongside what I was playing at ProQuest level events with Viserai sometime during the heavy hitters meta. And so that's very intriguing to me. And so we're going to jump into this today. The equipment is maybe a little bit lackluster. We have a lot of Blade Beckoner stuff. Overall, I think that Runeblade doesn't really have a very high power equipment suite in the format yet. We are playing Old Knocker. It's a way just to get a resource, and then the release arms just to get a rune chant when we need to. This is essentially one arcane damage on arms, but it's helpful for some of our effects where we care about making rune chants in the turn. We have our very simple game plan of playing a non-attack and then playing Runeblade cards. The most standard play line is going Maverian Skies into an attack, pitching a blue, and then sending your sword at the very end. This is what Viserai was doing when Rosetta Thorn was legal. It was what he was doing when Reaping Blade was legal. Up until probably like the very end of his life cycle, when people started playing a more red line, zero cost focused Viserai list that was all around reducing cost of cards. But for a very long time, something as simple as going red Maverian, Shrill, pitching a blue, coming in for 7, because you're going to make a rune chant on the back end. So you've made an aura for the turn by the time that you play the Shrill, because you play your Maverian Skies, so you played your non-attack for the turn. You play your Runeblade card, which is Shrill, makes a rune chant. Even though it's not on the chain dealing arcane damage yet, it still sees that you've made 1, and so you get the +3. So coming in for 7, on hit making 3 more rune chants for the Maverian Skies effect, and then following it up with the sword, sending whatever rune chants that you either made from the Shrill or from the Maverian Skies if it hits. This was the bread and butter for this deck. So that's mainly what we're doing here. So we have a bunch of cards that you're going to play either as a solid 2-card line as a finisher, or with Go Again, either with Flying High or Maverian Skies. Some of these innately have Go Again, but then also some of them have reduction costs or bonuses. So Amplify, you can just make some rune chants pass and then play the Amplify for 0. Or another line could be if a red Maverian Skies hits, for example, and you make the rune chants, all of a sudden you can play the Amplify for 0. We have Read the Runes. This is good if you want to set up a little bit, or if you're forced to go first. This is very good. And then you also have some utility cards here. So we have like Condemned to Slaughter, and these are just like very minor niche cases. Malefic is a very good setup, which you're probably familiar with from the Rosetta Viserai list. And then Hit the High Notes is very similar to Shrill Skullform, except you can actually play this without having to pitch a card because of Old Knocker if you really need to. And then we have a good closer with Vexing Malice. A lot of decks will bring Arcane Barrier 1, so if they ever go to 1 against you, you'll have 2 Arcane and they'll only be able to prevent 1 from the instance, so you have a way just to close out most games naturally. And then our sideboard, we're kind of trying to focus on decks that may want to fatigue us, so sword-based strategies. We are able to stack Rune Chants with Runeblood Incantation, Reduce to Rune Chant, and Blessing of the Occult. Since it's only 20 health, you don't need to stack up that many rune chants, and you can stack up a pretty quick pile and then play something like an Amplify. And if you keep 5 cards and you're able to chain the Amplify with like Maverian Skies and ways to give it Go Again, maybe send a Rune Flash as well, you can condense all of your damage into a single turn that should kill decks that are trying to block you out. And then we also have some Arcane Barrier for Wizard if you are interested. But that's the overall deck list, so we'll jump into a game. You can see how it plays. Ire opens with a turn 1 Snatch. Unfortunately, our hand is kind of everything that I would want for this. Going second, we're able to play Malefic. We'll specifically Flying High, Malefic to make a Rune Chant, and we can swing the Spellblade and then swing the Reaping Blade. So them coming in with an on-hit as early as turn 1 is kind of an unfortunate spot to be in. I think if I were to block with anything here, I probably potentially block with the Flying High and Spellblade Assault. We run the risk of drawing a second blue, but I at least feel like we can potentially draw into another red attack. This actually gets pushed over, which is pretty interesting. We may end up having to block out with the whole hand depending on what their next draw is. Or it's for 2 here. I think we're just going to go ahead and just block for 3. And just hope that they don't want to play this last card. If they do, we'll just block with armor. Playing the Torrent, I guess not that bad for us. I mean, they go off an Arsenal. I mean, they do push 5 damage on turn 1, which is pretty bad. But but they are going to lose some of the setup power going off of Arsenal here. Now we're at the mercy of whatever we draw. This next 4-card hand. Unfortunately, that turn 1 hand was actually really good. This hand is significantly worse in almost every way. Only thing to note though is they did not present AB, so we actually can just pop our arm piece here and just make sure that meet and greet will actually connect. Unfortunately, we're not going to be making any rune chance this turn, which I think is a very unfortunate spot to be in. The Deadly Duet will come in for 6 though. It's not bad. It's pretty close to the same amount of damage. The only thing is that we can at least play like a 2-card hand pitching a non-attack if they're just going to say no blocks on all of this, and maybe we get value out of keeping the Deadly Duet, but we can't necessarily guarantee the same value from keeping a 2-card hand with Shrill, so we might as well play the Shrill here. They're going down to 9, so if they can't kill us and our hand is pretty good, we can reasonably put their gas pedal on pretty hard, depending on what our draw is. Not a very good draw, honestly. We're missing Go again, so that's definitely a problem number 1. Kind of maybe just going to play Malefic, Read, and Pass. We can block 5. That's also possible. I don't think this game is going to go that long, so we could just block down and play the Read and Pass. Now we do have to think about if they're going to play Snatch at the end of the turn. I think if that is the line, I think we'll just block with the Read and the armor. Not ideal, but it may end up being what we have to do. Blue Bittering, we can actually pretty comfortably just use armor on that. All right, so our turns is playing Read and Passing. We're hoping that they can't present 14, or at the very least we get to keep the majority of our hands. With 4 raw cards, I don't think it's going to be that likely, so I feel like we can probably get a pretty good pivot here, just taking an off turn, making some rune chance of passing. Malefic would have been nice, but also I don't think the game is going to go long enough that we're going to get our 3 triggers off of Malefic, so that's also a bit of a concern to me. This hand is not that bad, but once again, we're really missing a go against source. We're really looking for that, but what we're probably going to do here is we're probably going to block for 9, and we're just going to play a 2-card 9 with the amp plus the 3 rune chance. No reason to do anything else here, I think, which is not bad. It presents lethal. 3 of it they can't block, and they're popping their equipment right now without getting the Battle Worn effect out of them, so we're at least up in life on that front. So they're going to come in for 2. All of our cards block for 3, so I'm just not going to block this. My assumption is that we're going to find a way to get 9 block efficiently for the rest of the turn. They'll send Edge. We can consider just getting our 2 life here. I don't think it's a bad call. This will come in for 2. It's getting a little bit more dicey now. I think we probably will end up just blocking here with 1 card. We're losing 1 point of life, but I just don't know how well the rest of this hand is going to convert. So I have to pitch a whole card to do this. That's pretty interesting to me. I guess we'll just go ahead and block. And they just passed turn. Not good for us. we accidentally IP a card here. We could have got 2 extra life out of. And it looks like their hand bricked. So it's good for us. No way I think they're going to be able to present 12 with 3 cards. So if we wanted to, we at least know we can keep a full grip of 5. And with them at 6, it's probably good enough to rip most tempo from them. We have a flying high, so we finally get a hand that we can convert into a lot of damage. So let's quickly think about our curve here. Our curve is just going to be playing flying high, playing Deadly Duet for 6, and then sending Reaping Blades. So we're free to block with 2 cards here. If I were to keep 1 card in deck, I guess we're going to keep the Spellblade Assault because they don't have AB. I don't think they're ever going to try to fatigue us, but if we just keep Rune Chant Generation in the deck, there's no way that they can fatigue us out. We'll go ahead and play our Flying High. We'll play our Deadly Duet for 7. It's pretty solid. We're going to make a Rune Chant on the back end. So we're going to present 4 again after this. Going down to 1. I don't think they... I mean, we'll have to see if they have a way to stop the 1 damage here. Okay, they did not. Let me think about if they could have... So they had 3 blocks in. I'm just curious if they had maybe blocked with an extra 3. They'd be at 4. They still have to give us a whole card. Their next hand is probably just like swinging Bittering Thorns, swinging Edge, which is like not a good hand. It doesn't take any cards from us. And our next hand is absolute gas. So our next hand is going to be Mavrian, we're going to play Hit the High Notes. This is going to come in for 6 with Go Again, on hit, make 3 Rune Chants. We're going to make a Rune Chant on the back end. We're going to send Meet and Greet for 4, deal 1 to them, unpreventable because they don't have AB. So we connect on the Meet and Greet, it gets Go Again, and then we're also able to send Reaping Blade on curve. So even if they keep like that hand, I don't think there's a way that they really get back in the game at that point. I mean, that's going to be way too explosive to deal with. We can even take a look at what their next hand is. They have 2/2 blocks. Yeah, I don't think they're living through that. So that's just a quick example game. The only thing I think it's worth to highlight here is that there is the ability to take off-turn pivots, like that mid game where we just like played a read and we passed. You can do that in this deck. You can block out for a couple turns and wait for like a more powerful push. But that's mainly because the deck wasn't drawing its Go Again sources. So your Go Again sources are very premium in the deck. So that's something definitely to keep in mind. But hopefully this was helpful for you, kind of understand how you might pilot the deck. Until next time, thank you for watching.